All right, here's the notes that we did yesterday. Today we're going to do the backside of graphing in vertex form. So just like before, we're going to go ahead and go backwards this time. So before I gave you an equation and then I wanted you to graph it. This time we're going to go backwards. I'm going to give you a graph and I want you to give me the equation. Steps are pretty simple. We're first going to write down the equation y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. You're going to use the vertex h comma k in your formula. So on your graph, find the vertex and use it, right? Then once you have that in, you're going to plug in a different point that's not the vertex, and you're going to solve for a. Once you solve for a, you're going to rewrite your formula using your a, your h, your k, and you are pretty much done. It is relatively simple, guys. So the video hopefully shouldn't be too long. Let's go ahead and split this up into three different problems. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of separate these like this. That way, we don't get lost. Let's see. First, I want to write the equation down, right? So this is in vertex form. I'm going to write this as y is equal to a times parentheses x minus h squared plus k. Step number one is done, and that is to rewrite the formula. Since I'm going to be doing this three separate times, I know the first step is never going to change. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay these out right now because that's going to be the first step every time, right? Just write down the formula. Step number two, we're going to go ahead and find the vertex. Now, in this case, my vertex is right here. So let me go ahead and label that vertex. This is going to be the point 2 comma negative 9. And that's going to be my h and my k. Remember that when we're using our h in our formula, it's going to be opposite of whatever I have it as. So because the h is a positive 2, when I use it in my formula, it's going to look like a minus 2. The k, whatever that value is, you're going to use the exact same value. So because it's a negative 9, you're going to keep it as a negative 9. So I'm going to go ahead and replace these values, and it becomes y is equal to a times parentheses. Again, because my h is a positive 2, I'm going to change that to an x minus 2 squared, and then keep the negative 9 on the outside. All I did was I replaced my h value and my k value. All right, third step is to find a point on your graph that is not the vertex. Ideally, they'll have a point I highlighted for you. I'm going to pick that point right here, which is the point 0 comma negative 7. More importantly, that 0 and that negative 7 is a separate x and a separate y. So these are the values that I'm going to substitute in my formula. I'm going to replace the x with 0, and I'm going to replace this y with negative 7, okay? That's coming from here and here. So when I write this, I'm going to rewrite this as negative 7 is equal to a times parentheses 0 minus 2 squared minus 9. All I'm going to do here is we're going to simplify this. 0 minus 2, that becomes a negative 2. And when I square the negative 2 squared, that becomes positive 4. So this becomes 4 times a, which is just going to be 4a. I hope you're able to follow all that because I did do like 3 steps in one, but hopefully they weren't complicated steps. Everything else I just bring down. Now I'm just going to go ahead and solve for a. I'm going to add 9 to both sides. I get 2 is equal to 4a. Divide both sides by 4. That 2 over 4 simplifies as a fraction s to 1 half is equal to a. I just found my a value for my formula, which means I'm pretty much done. I just need to take this a value, come back over here, and replace it. So that way I have an a value, I have an h value, and I have a k value all in one formula. So I'm going to write this as y is equal to 1 half parentheses x minus 2 squared minus 9. Notice that when I do this, all I'm doing is I'm replacing the a value, I'm replacing the h value, and I'm replacing the k value. Your x and your y needs to stay an x and a y. That way, if I plug in an x, like let's say I plug in 7, I can get a y value to pop out. If you start using these numbers here, then there's nothing for you to replace for the rest of your formula. All right, so that is my formula. It's y equals 1 half x minus 2 squared minus 9. All right, let's try the next one. Same concept. I already did the first step. I wrote down the formula. Second step is I'm going to use my vertex. My vertex is right here, and it looks like those are the coordinates negative 3 comma 7. Negative 3 comma 7 is going to be my h and my k. So I'm going to use those values in my formula. and replace them. Remember, when I replace the h value, it's opposite of whatever is in here. So when it's a -3 here, I'm actually going to write it as a +3 in here. So I'm going to write this as y is equal to a times parentheses x plus 3 squared. And then the k value is going to stay. It was a +7. It's going to stay as a +7. All I did was I replaced my h and my k. All right, third step is to pick a point on the graph. Guys, that I see that they gave me a point right here, but as long as it's a point on the graph, it should be fine. So this works. If you plug in this point instead, it should work as well, as long as you pick a point that is completely on the graph. So for example, I don't want to pick a point here because I don't really know what that is, right? Like, is that -2.5? Is that -2.3? Like I'm sorry, -1.6. That, yeah, just don't pick points that are not lattice points. Lattice points are points on the corner, so that's not on the corner, that's not on the corner, that's almost on the corner. This is almost on the corner. This is on the corner. I would pick this point -1, -5. Guys, it's really hard to tell the difference, which one of those is actually crossing through, but if you zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, like hopefully you can tell like this one is not totally on the corner and this one is perfectly on the corner. So I definitely would stay away from that point. I would either pick this point or this point, but just to be safe, since they put a dot there, like I know for a fact this point is going to be on my graph. So I'm going to use that one just to be safe. This is going to be the point -2, 4. That's going to be my x and my y that gets to be used. All right, then I get 4 is equal to a times parentheses. My x value is -2.